Well, we've had our election. President Trump is now going to be President Trump-elect for his second term. Lots and lots of optimism. I think it was all going to pay off in the long run. But the question I keep getting, and I'm going to tell you I get a lot of these, is it going to make a difference? Is Donald Trump's presidency going to change the cycle? And the answer is a big resounding no. The die has been cast. This has been cast 4 or 5 years ago. There's nothing that he can do. Whichever candidate won, they were going to run into all kinds of trouble because we have all kinds of excesses that have to be resolved out of it. So we have housing. You know, this has been a big question for everybody. It seems like everyone has missed it. The run-up has been crazy. A lot of people got left behind on this, and we have a huge, enormous demand for housing, but we need affordable housing. You know, so I'm going to tell you, if you follow my videos, and please look at the back ones we have. I've been very accurate with a lot of these. I've had a lot of help. You know, I get a lot of good analysts, and they send me data, and we talk a bit. So it's not always me. We talk about the fact that this was coming and that we knew that the Federal Reserves across the globe, all the central banks got together and they decided they were going to start crunching the economy. And that's what they did. And this has been happening. So we have a demand destruction all across the globe. And this is going to have to play out. So we have plenty of demand. We have a demand destruction orchestrated by the central banks around the world, and they are going to cause a problem. Now, we've been talking about inflation. Yes, inflation. I see inflation coming in the next 2, 3, 4 years, probably going to be brutal. If you don't own real assets, and stocks, I think, are real assets. You know, they have the ability to reprice things. Bonds will get creamed because we see interest rates going up. And I see housing going up really radically. It's going to be different housing, though. So we need to make sure that we understand what's going on. We need affordable housing. And I'll show you some ideas that are becoming. Elon Musk has been talking about this. Walmart came out with some housing that we can talk about. But let's talk about my model. And let's just go to my very first slide. Let me make sure I can get over here to the yes, yeah, here we go. So look at the 18-year cycle, still working just fine. I am assuming that we are going to, let me get this open so you can see this a little bit better. I am completely in agreement that I think that we are going to see prices waterfall lower. Now we are coming across this top here. And again, remember, I keep saying this is a process. This is not a point in time. It is a process. And of course, it's regional. So there are still regions in the country that are doing incredibly well. Here in Phoenix, Arizona, we have a lot of people that are leaving California. And the first stop on the road is Arizona, and about 50% of people that are leaving California do come here. So we've got population pressure, we have housing pressure. We're not immune though. So we've been talking quite honestly. We've had a tremendous amount of apartment complexes that were being built because of all the in demand, and of course it takes 2 years to build. And after they get built, it was a great idea 2 years ago, not such a good idea now. So we have a tremendous amount of inventory coming on. It is affecting our prices, and we are seeing rentals are getting a little bit under pressure. So we actually seen them go. Remember, rentals and all real estate is sold in a range. So we're seeing rentals going down to the lower end of the range. And of course, my personal portfolio. Remember, when we're talking, we are talking about the fact that we are maximizing the tenants. We're not maximizing a rent because we want tenants that are going to stay with us 5, 6, 7 years. It's not unusual for my personal portfolio for people to stay with me 15 years. So, on a 30-year mortgage, they pay half that mortgage off for me. So it's been really, really good. However, our real estate timing model is still indicating that we've got prices waterfalling lower. I fully expect that we're going to run into trouble. My first buy point is next year. So that will be somewhere down this line here. It's not going to be all the way down, but it's going to be a good point down. I keep getting people saying, well, they're all waiting for patience. Remember, I talk about patience is a virtue. Like Warren Buffett, he is certainly patient. Let me go talk to you for just a second. Look right in the face here. Warren Buffett is selling because he thinks it's a great time to sell, but he's got nothing to buy. So He's being patient. He's building his cash reserves. That's what we need to be doing as well, because we are going to find a lot of things to buy. Just not yet, but we're getting our capital put together. We're keeping our powder dry, so to speak, and we are all going to make an absolute fortune. There are going to be lots and lots of losers. I'm going to tell you, this is going to be brutal. If you are over leveraged, if you lose your job, and I'm telling you, I'm hearing that people are losing their jobs and they're not getting the hours. I'm hearing from construction people that, we had a terrible time getting vendors. We had people come in, we want to get improved. If we have a turnover on one of our properties, we can get people to come do this. Now we get people calling us saying, do you have any tile work for us? Do you have any painting? Do you have any roofing that you need done? And we're hearing this. So that's anecdotal. I'm telling you that this is coming. It's slowing down. We're also seeing some data. I don't get a lot of data on this. This is not something I follow is employment, but I did see that construction jobs have lost a lot in Texas and a lot in Florida. So we've talked about that. We've hinted about that in other videos. That's what happened here in Phoenix. We were a construction town, in the great financial crisis, 2008, 2009, 2010. We lost about 400,000 jobs. So can you imagine what happens to a community when 400,000 people leave? They just left. That means all the, apartment complexes lose people, and the grocery stores don't have people coming in, all the services. So it was pretty brutal. It took a long time to work that out. That's not happening to us this time here in Phoenix. We've become a chip manufacturer and manufacturing and a startup. So, I mean, our mix of manufacturing and the economy has just changed tremendously. But there are areas in the country, Florida and parts of Texas and Florida that are experiencing these, and they will consider these. We talk about D.R. Horton, a little concerned about earnings moving forward, and that goes right in part and parcel to this. So let me open this up a little bit here. So I fully expect that we're going to come down this side. That's a technical term, is called a waterfall, and it comes down on this side, and it's going to come down. I think that we've talked about this before, I think it has a very reasonable 15, 20%. I've had analysts tell me 30. Charles Hugh Smith thinks that if we went even beyond this, we could go to 60, 65% retracement. Now, that's not going to be everywhere. Places that are way ahead of themselves. I love Florida. I love Texas. I think they're just absolutely phenomenal markets, but I think they're ahead of themselves. And some of these old communities, like Milwaukee and St. Louis, and, some of in the Rust Belt where they're having problems, there are really no reasons to stay if the future doesn't look good. A lot of those places are going to really have problems. Baltimore and Detroit would be one of them. But they're going to get down to the point that they're so cheap, people will re-emerge into that economy and start rebuilding, but it's going to have to retrace quite a bit. I am hearing, again, we've talked about this on some of our other videos, that the commercial, these commercial properties are sold on what they're worth. So really, as an investor, they're only worth the kind of income that they can provide for us. So if they can't provide income to us, what in the world do we want them for? And of course, when they get repriced and they get forced repriced, when they have, on commercial, they only get a 5, 7, maybe they get a 10, but that's very unusual year maturity dates. So after 5 or 7 years and you need financing, well, now you're looking at a completely different interest rate regime, and you become non-viable. And so your building is going to reprice. So it may go from 100%, maybe it's only worth 50% of what it was 3-4 years ago, and that's brutal. So we're seeing that all over. We're seeing that absolutely everywhere. If you have to reprice your building because of the interest rates, and of course we talked about this in the last video. So if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. And subscribe. The logarithms just love that. We talked about Ken McElroy buying a property in Las Vegas, and of course it got repriced. Recently new building, but no longer viable. He came in and bought it at the price that would become viable. Which for Ken, he was able to buy these things, actually below replacement cost. What a great deal! I'm going to expect to see a lot of that. And I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of that when this thing comes down. So it depends on what area of the country that you're in, but I think we're going to get a great replacement cost here, and I think we're going to do extremely well. So people are saying, what's taking so long? So I got this morning from Zero Hedge. This is just an eye-opener. You know, there's so much data coming in. It's difficult for me to follow absolutely everything, but look at this. Now, we're talking about the lack of liquidity. Now, you can see this liquidity explosion right here on the left, just going crazy. Here it is peaking in 2022, which we've talked about ad infinitum, and then it starts coming down, and it starts coming down, starts coming down, starts coming down. Now, we're starting to get into election territory, and right here, January 2024, liquidity gets put in. Mysteriously, liquidity gets put back into the economy, and look what happens. We now have more than what we started with going into November, into the fourth quarter of 2024, right into the election. So not an explosive amount, but certainly enough to affect the economy. So we can see that. We can see the fact that it obviously engineered and to boost the economy. So now that's going to get removed. I'm telling you, it's going to get removed. I'm expecting 25 and 26, 2025 and 2026 to be just absolutely brutal. So you need to position yourself appropriately. You know, and again, I cannot say this enough. You need to save your money. Get out of debt. Don't spend. If you need that extra latte, maybe you don't. 5 lattes a week savings is $25 times 50 weeks. You're talking over $1,000 that you get to keep. And if it's you and your spouse, that's $2,000. I'm telling you, you get a sack life. We've done videos on all this. The idea is to get your capital and quit spending. I was so proud of my son. He was looking at a brand new car, and he decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put a couple $1,000s in, get my car all redone, get all new tires and belts and water pumps and all that, so you can drive it for another 25 or 50,000 miles, rather than buy a car that's going to cost him $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. And I'm suggesting that you do that too, because you are going to be able to take that money that you're spending now and place it into an investment that is going to change your life. I cannot tell you this enough. You are going to get a game-changing, life-changing opportunity, and it's coming. Now, let me just go to my next slide here, and let's just talk about that. I'm trying not to make this a long one. Now, people say, well, Donald Trump got in. He's a great businessman. He's bringing in great people. We're going to have this change. Wasn't working before, so we got a new shot. Yes, all that's probably true, but you can't change an aircraft carrier. You can't turn it, over, in 30 minutes. This is going to take a couple of years for this to happen. Fits right into our model, by the way. I mean, it just fits beautifully into our model. But this is what you're looking at. We've got the credit card balances are at historic highs. People's credit cards are maxed out. That means they don't have any money. And they're losing your credit. So what happens when you want to go to a grocery store and your credit card doesn't have any more room on it? It's going to cause problems. We're hearing 2/3 of Americans don't have any money. You hear this all the time. It used to be 50% of the people couldn't come up with $400 for an emergency. Now it's 2/3 of them. And I'm hearing anecdotally, and I'm hearing this a lot. I'm hearing this from a lot of people, that the HELOCs, home equity line of credit, are being tapped. They're getting out through withdrawals. People, I'm hearing from financial planners and people at big houses saying people are going into their IRAs and their 401ks and doing withdrawals, because look at this. Personal savings rate is down at a historical level. They're depleting their savings. So when you're depleting your savings, what does that do for you? You have to know, look at this. You have to know that people are in trouble. And whoever won the election is going to inherit all this. This is going to be a very, very difficult time, and I'm anticipating that the next couple of years, and it fits right into the model. It fits beautifully into the model. Unfortunately, the model is just the model. The model is just telling you what to expect, and that fits beautifully into it. So I'm fully expecting that that's probably going to be what's going to happen. Let me go to my next slide here. We'll take a look at this. So we're seeing people, and I'm telling you, if you need money, you'd better take your money now, because once the appraisals get redone and prices start falling, all that equity that you thought that you could tap, all that extra cash, it's going to be gone. And here's the sad thing. When recessions hit and get bad, they cancel your HELOC. This is a fact, guys. So if you need the money, contrary to a lot of people, I would say you might want to consider taking it. Make sure that you can afford to pay it back, but don't go buy a motorhome or a new skidoo or a travel trailer or take the vacation of a lifetime. This is money for you to invest at a later time, and money that you may need. Because the last time, I'm going to tell you, in 2008, 9, and 10, they just, you get these notices from your bank that your HELOC has been canceled. And, people thought, well, I've got this lifeline, things are bad, but I can always borrow off my house, and then they just stop it. So that's coming, and this fits right again. I hate to keep saying this, but it keeps going right into our model. We're fully expecting this to happen. Now, this is happening in my market. So in Scottsdale and Phoenix, that we are now able to put these tiny homes on the people's back lots. The homeowner associations are still fighting it. But if you don't have a homeowner association, you can put this in. I got this from Walmart. They'll deliver a prefab house for $15,900. And you can put it in your backyard and it becomes a rental unit. I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of this. This is just going to be this is going to be an amazing thing. We had the McMansions where people wanted to get really big houses. Now we're going into tiny houses just because this becomes affordability. I think that houses are going to be much more downsized. Now, as you know, our portfolio, we have been for like 7 or 8 years. We are in the affordability price range. So most of our portfolio is, they compete directly with apartments. They're a little nice. They're always nicer than apartments, of course, but they're maybe 1,200 to 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. We don't really have much bigger than that. These are affordable homes that virtually everybody can buy, everybody can afford to rent, and that's where my space is. I expect that to do incredibly well. And if you were going to consult with us, we'd want to talk to you about what your goals are. So let me go to my next slide. Let's just talk about that. This, of course, is the problem. Got this from Ken McElroy. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for that. Here's the problem. We've talked about this. Cost to buy a property is $2,700. Cost to rent that same one is about $1,850. Huge disconnect. Now, buy and rent should really be about the same. This $2,700 is not including taxes, insurance, HOA, and that will drive it up around $3,000. And of course, the maintenance could easily put another $200 on it. So to own the property is going to run you around $3,000 to $3,200. That is just about standard here in Maricopa County. That's just about right. I'm hearing that around the country. I think that's probably about right. But you can rent for $1,850. Huge disconnect. And that just goes back to affordability issue, which is what we're talking about here. That is going to resolve. So my concern is if you buy a property now and it resolves, how does it resolve? It resolves, get lower prices. It's the only way you can do that. Either we get incredibly lower interest rates. I don't see that happening. Now, what I do see happening is that I see the Federal Reserve reducing their rate, probably to 1 or 2 or 3. But that doesn't mean that long-term interest rates are going to follow, because I do think we're going to see inflation coming along soon. So it's kind of a balancing act that we're going to be looking at here. We're going to do our very best with, but you're going to want some of these assets. There's no question about it. We're going to want to talk to you and talk about how we're going to position your assets to get this done. Let me go to my next slide and let's just take a look at that. So this is just some of the things that we're seeing. I want you to be concerned. People are saying, where's this going to come from? Well, 20 to 30% of the Russell are zombie companies, which means that they're not making enough money to really run the company. Close, but not good enough, and they have to borrow money to continue. They do employ 10 million people in the United States. So if the bond market cuts them off, they have no access to capital, they will fail. And we have trillions of dollars in triple B bonds. Again, it's not my asset class, but this is just one of the things I put in there to say, well, how can this happen? Well, here's a real easy way. Remember, we deal in what's going to happen, not necessarily why it's going to happen. That's from my friend Charles Nenner. He always says, I don't know why it's going to happen. I just know what's going to happen. So this is just an attempt to say a why. It would be concerned. So again, you could be working for one of these companies, and in which case your pension is at risk. Your job is at risk. You could get pink slip the next day. And I'm going to tell you, what that old Ronald Reagan saying was, recession is when your neighbor gets laid off. It's a depression when you get laid off. So you need to protect your job. Get a second job. Get some money. Get out of debt. If you're out of debt, you don't need as much money to get by. Your life becomes easy. You sleep better at night. So I like that. Our whole goal, we are not one of these that try and do infinite returns. Not yet. We recognize where we are in the marketplace, and we want to be out of debt so we can get into debt later on. But when we're out of debt, we can reduce our rents and do really, really well because we don't have any encumbrances on them. And the cash flow is just amazing. So when you if you own 10 of these properties, you're going to be making $160,000 to $190,000 here in Phoenix, Arizona. Free and clear, just you sleep well at night. You just get a check sent to you. You're going to get you get yourself $15,000 to $20,000 a month sent to you with 10 free and clear properties, and that's fully managed. They take care of absolutely everything. You don't do anything, and you're going to get 15 to 20. This is what the appeal to this program is. And of course, if you're in business and your business is impacted by a recession, well, these rentals just keep sending you money over and over and over again. So your lifestyle, remains fairly fluid and good, and it's a lifeboat for you. So that's what it's made for. Let me go to my next slide, and let's just talk about that. I don't want this to go on much longer. So this is where I'm at. You're welcome to reach me. We are starting to take names and numbers. We do consulting, see if you even qualify, if it is good for you, because a lot of people, everybody wants to do this, but you have to have the whereabouts to do it. And of course, we want to make sure that I'm a good fit for you. You're a good fit for us. I have clients we've been doing business with for many, many years, 10, 15 years, 20 years. And I have a great team here. We want to make sure that you fit with us. We've got some new regulations. We have to be employed by you these days in order to really discuss too terribly much of our portfolio and our buy boxes and stuff. It's just crazy. We're trying to work all this stuff out. So you can call me here. My license is held by West USA Realty. They do all our back office and our compliance works, and our accounting. So you're welcome to reach them, and they'll get to me, and we'll send a time when we can sit down. Consultation really is for us. If you're going to get serious, but it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. We want to know you, and we want to answer all your questions so that you can talk to me. We've got a great staff here. We've been doing this for a long, long time. We do an absolutely outstanding job. In the meantime, be careful out there. It's going to be a pretty tough market. I think we're going to see some changes coming reasonably quick to us. If I can help in any way, please give me a call. My very, very best to you. Bye-bye now.